Welcome to this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters, the show where we chart the cinematic legacy of the classic monsters. I'm John Campbell. With me, as always, Brendan Jones.
Werewolves of Ontario.
Oh boy, we could not be more in the Great White North. The amount of Surreys and O's and hosts in this film,
What's all this about?
There's a lot of Canadian accents in this week's movie, which is 2000's Ginger Snaps.
Yes. Now, had you seen this one before, John?
I had long ago, but in the fashion of this movie, I saw it, of course, on like IFC. You know, not as a. I mean, it was a horror movie, but it wasn't like one of my. A lot of the other movies we've covered, I saw on like Stars or AMC when they were doing horror nights. This was presented as basically like any other indie drama, but with horror elements.
Right. This, like The Addiction, or like Nadia, or like or Dog Soldiers coming up.
Yeah.
There's certain movies that work for both audiences, but they may primarily be seen as this or that, like an indie film.
Yeah.
So The Addiction is a vampire movie, but it's an indie film mostly because it's aimed at that.
And I feel like,
and this is definitely an indie werewolf movie.
This is definitely an indie. This leans a little bit more like towards the genre fans, but it's still not going to give you exactly what you're looking for. You know, it's not. It's so interesting to be doing this. This is our second movie of the 2000s. And my God, the dichotomy between this and Dracula 2000.
Oh, yeah. The first one is a real empty cash grab concept that is pretty much generically created and produced and made. And this is an indie film where thought was taken, but they had a decent budget and they got interesting, good, up and coming actors out of Canada,
and at least
in other words, this is better than it has any purpose.
I mean, here's the thing: it's almost like sometimes on the show, it's sad that movies like this are like, hey, this is pretty good.
Yeah,
it's sad that's what our show is, where the anomaly is, hey, something's pretty good, because unlike my other show, The Action Shelf, we know going into those are going to be
they're
pretty
all
bad.
Going to be bad.
This show is a real grab bag just because we're covering everything. Yep. So I remembered liking it when I saw it, but it's been a long time, and I was pleasantly surprised that I still enjoyed it. It's the other thing about it is it doesn't feel the other dichotomy with the Dracula 2000 is this doesn't feel like, while it is a modern reinvention, it doesn't feel like this ain't your daddy's werewolf movie. Even though it's glomming it onto something more modern.
Yes, and it's also glomming itself onto not just something more modern, but something much more intimate and universal.
Yes.
So in other words, what's great is the focus isn't on the werewolf thing.
No.
The focus is on adolescence. The focus is on femininity and feminine sexuality, and the sisterhood bond. It's using, like Buffy does, it's like it's using the horror thing as part of a metaphor, and you're like, great.
And when that is done right, the merging of teen drama and monster movie works so well. Now, it's poorly done a lot, but certainly something like Buffy does that, and in the same way where it's like, oh, the metaphors are right there, man. It's so easy that it's amazing how many times people drop the ball.
And this does hit it on the nose quite often, and they refer to it, but it's still smartly written enough, smartly directed and acted. Again, the direction's also very good, but editing.
It's so interesting. This movie cost way less. This is a $5 million. This movie cost $50 million less than last week's movie, and I think it looks way better.
Oh my God!
It's so much more interesting to look at. You can see the other movie has more polish, but this has so much more like artistic integrity in it.
And when it wants to, and this is a key, I think, to a lot of horror that gets overlooked, but it's essential, especially in horror literature as well. Like what Stephen King, the reason it's not necessarily the whatever supernatural gobbledygook.
Mm-hmm.
It's he gets you invested in the characters. So this movie is sitting there going, we don't want to create thinly sketched in teenagers. We want you to really know them, care about them.
Yeah.
So when it does get tense, even if you've seen this movie before, you get caught up in it again and you go, God, I wish this turned out a different way, because you care about characters and you start going, oh my God, what are the consequences of this scene? When are you going to have that in a Dracula 2000? You're not. You're never going to go, oh my God, what happened to that poor TV reporter?
We haven't seen those sequels yet, man. Those maybe are where they really lock in on those characters. And
oh yeah, Dracula 3000 is the one where you start to care.
Oh, once Dracula's in space, then I'm really invested. Yeah, so yes.
So, I mean, I also don't want to overpraise it. It is just so refreshing to come across something competently done, that's original.
Yeah, and is dealing with less resources and is using them smartly.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you can clearly with this, and it's I think co-produced by the female screenwriter, who I think I don't think she even writes the sequels of this. So there must be something, because the same director doesn't do them either.
No, neither writer nor director return, which does have me distinctly worried. Not only do I leave this movie not wanting a sequel, but the main creative forces also have no involvement. We'll find out when we get there. I've never seen either sequel, so
I will just say that I will say you can see all the stuff in this smoothie. You can see every ingredient in it. That doesn't make the smoothie not tasty, because it's a good movie on its own, but you sit here going like, holy shit, this is actually just Heathers, and American Werewolf in London, and some Buffy,
a little
Carrie, sure, but just thrown in the blender, and you go, great, because those are all good ingredients, and if you do a successful fusion, then it becomes an original thing on its own, and I applaud Ginger Snaps. I did enjoy watching this.
I will say, while they do not come back, I'm looking at the IMDb's of the director and the writer here. While they do not come back for the sequels, they do both go on to be main creative forces on the TV show Orphan Black.
Yeah,
which is very good.
And in the second Ginger Snaps are
Tatiana
Maslany. Crush. Tatiana Maslany, which is so interesting, is a character in it.
That they weren't involved in that movie. It's just, I guess she's just because she's part of the Canadian scene there.
Yeah, that's it.
And Orphan Black also super Canadian.
Well, you look at their credits, and one thing I am glad to see is when you look at this, that both writer and director have had really solid careers after this. It's not like they had their indie darling and kind of disappeared. No, this led to other things because they have this stuff.
This director,
same for the actresses, except for I think, not Catherine Isabel.
No, Emily Perkins.
Emily Perkins. She seems to kind of have voluntarily spotty.
I looked on her IMDb. She spends most of her time teaching now.
But she's great. To tell you the truth, Catherine Isabel is the one that kind of rode the fame wave off of this.
Totally.
But I think that Emily Perkins is...
Well, and it's so interesting because, I mean...
She's the star of it.
Nothing to take away. I think Catherine Isabel's great in this. And I've always really liked her and all the stuff she's done since. She's great on Hannibal. But Emily Perkins really is because she has, I think, the tougher role between the two, because Catherine Isabel gets to be the monster and gets to be the over-the-top one, but it really is the character Bridget that's going through the emotional turmoil of the movie. And I did think the same thing.
So good.
And I will say, though, I looked her up on IMDb, and she certainly did a lot of stuff. She was on the Canadian detective show Da Vinci's Inquest.
Yeah, I never watched that, but I'm aware of
it. I think I've seen a smattering of episodes. But she has an absolutely hilarious scene in Juno that I had forgotten. She's the receptionist at the Planned Parenthood clinic who gives her, and I distinctly remember her, she has a great line delivery where she talks about they have flavored condoms. She goes, "This one's blueberry. It's awesome. It makes my boyfriend's junk taste like pie." And it's very funny. I'm going like, man, okay, look at how good you have one little scene in Juno, and I distinctly remember her in it. When I saw that was her, I'm like, oh my god, I know who you are in Juno. So,
again, this is an indie film that did launch some careers, or at least help some along.
That's not like the guy went on to be famous, but he's definitely a guy who I keep seeing and stuff. And as I look at his IMDb, the main guy, Chris Lemche,
I gotta say, across the board, the casting's good, because even the people who are called upon to be stock, high school pervy guys or snotty girls, mean girls, they're all good.
They're all good.
This movie is striking this tone that is slightly Heathers-ish or Donnie Darko-ish, where it's real world but heightened, so everyone is slightly cartoonized. It's like a satire of a kind.
It's a delicate thing though, because it is, but it doesn't quite go full on into as goofy as Heathers, but it's more.
No.
But it's a really tough balance that
I will say, when there's an accidental death of a character in this movie, I don't know why I'm wording it like that in case there's a spoiler, but the main mean girl is not killed by the monster. She has an accidental death, and it did remind me of the corn nut scene in Heathers,
yes,
where it's like she smashes through the glass table, and she's the first of them to really die. And not Heather, obviously.
Winona Ryder,
our lead character, Winona Ryder's character, whatever her name is,
Veronica.
But she's like totally freaked out. Whereas, of course, you get the wicked guy going like, "Yeah, she had it coming to her. That's exactly what we wanted to happen."
He said, "Greetings and salutations."
Oh my god! I need to go back and rewatch. That used to be one of my favorites.
I love that movie too. And yeah, this movie does capture some of that. But I understand, because I was looking through the trivia for this, and they were talking about they had a really hard time casting this movie, and I could see that because the tone is so hyper specific. I could absolutely see.
Some people would be doing it way too seriously.
Some people would turn it
into a cartoon.
Some people are doing Degrassi. Some people are doing full on TV sketch comedy. So
Degrassi, obviously, because they're all Canadian.
I know we can make it through. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm an original Degrassi guy. I'm not with you on Next Generation.
Oh man, the Next Gen. I mean, the original Degrassi is great, but I really do like Degrassi, the Next Generation.
It's about our age gap.
Yeah, that is that. Although I have checked in with the original, and things do. All the characters from the original still do pop up.
I know. A couple of them show up as teachers or their parents or whatever.
The big anecdote is that they had a hell of a time casting, and then both Emily Perkins and Katharine Isabelle came in like right after each other on the day.
And
they were like,
boom, boom.
Got it. Well, I do have a couple people they offered this to, though.
Oh, who?
And they're pretty much exactly who you would expect from the indie scene at this time. The role of Ginger was originally first offered to Sarah Polley, indie darling and Canadian.
Yeah.
And then our other friend, Natasha Lyonne, was their second choice.
Oh.
And Natasha Lyonne at this time, it's almost like, I think she was just flooded with these, probably. I feel like she got offered every young female lead in an indie movie.
Well, let's not forget, she was in The Addiction.
She was. That's what I mean. And it's sort of thing, and she was. But, this is now post-American Pie and stuff, so she's kind of on an ascent, and I feel like is probably just being bombarded with stuff. And also, I love Natasha Lyonne. She is not right for this.
No. There's an edge and definitely a city vibe. And since this is very definitely going for suburbs.
And I don't even see Sarah Polley fitting perfectly.
Sarah Polley, even as an actor, now she's of course a very accomplished director, but
Academy Award
even
winner.
As an actor, she's always been pretty serious.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably say the only lighter thing she ever did was like her first movie is Baron Munchausen. After that, I mean, she's doing all that Atom Egoyan stuff.
Yeah.
She's doing. I'm like, come on, this.
I mean, the closest thing she
Hereafter and stuff.
She eventually does the Snyder Dawn of the Dead. That's as close as she gets to like wild, genre stuff. But yeah, I do think of her as very serious. And both of these actors, they just they lucked out.
They find that balance
them
perfectly.
They do, and
even though one of them is straddled with a terrible wig for the whole thing. Emily Perkins' wig is not convincing. It is the kind of hair that character would have, but I kept thinking like, oh, it's so much a
Here's
wig.
The crazy thing too is Emily Perkins is 4 years older than Katharine Isabelle.
Oh, that's
she's
funny.
playing the younger sister, but I didn't question it.
Well, also, she just looks, I mean, she is very good at acting like she's 15, but also you look at her and you go, holy crap. Now, I don't know, maybe she was 20 or something when she made this, but it's like, wow, you look like a 15-year-old.
I think she's got a young face, and then I think also, to give credit to her performance as well, the awkwardness of her physicality in every scene is that, like, teenage girl, I'm gonna, like, shrink up as small as I can.
The hunch kind of walk, and the whole thing also with the fact that they are both emo girls, very gothy emo types. So the constant ducked head, and then later in the movie, almost like she's Van Helsing, she has a signature big coat, but hers is clearly like a man's coat that is 3 sizes too big for her that she disappears into. And you're going, perfect choice for that character. It's her uniform, her outfit, but at the same time, it's perfect for that character because she looks swallowed in it.
It's what we're speaking to in this movie that this movie's doing that so many of the other movies we don't do, which is there's an attention to detail. There is what you're talking about. There is an attempt to actually build characters, and that goes to production design, that goes to costuming, and it also goes to show, as always, look at the tiny indie movie is doing things that the big studio movie didn't. Because look at the 2 girls in Dracula 2000. Holy shit, they have no characteristics.
Nope. Well, they both work for the Virgin Megastore.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. They both work. Yeah, I was bummed there was no massive product placement in this movie. Why didn't they work in a recognizable place?
Why didn't they work for Tim Hortons? So they go, we got to make some more donuts.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be in the back here making donuts.
You guys need a fresh box of Timbits?
Never say Timbits on this podcast again, John.
No, that's too Canadian.
So let's start off.
Just for a second, let me briefly talk about. This isn't the original poster, right?
With just the 2 of them on there?
Well, I don't know. It looks like it looks like they're trying to do the like Twilight thing. Even the font. I can't tell.
Let me get there real quick. Ginger Snap. Sorry, I didn't have it up.
Oh man, well I guess somebody wasn't prepared.
No.
That can't be right.
No.
Oh wait, I think I see the original poster here. It's the one with. It's bad. It's the one with like sexy Catherine Isabel. I don't like that.
No, I don't think that.
What is the original release poster for this?
Maybe it is the one with sexy.
Catherine Isabel. That looks very 2000 to me, where it's like it's like her. It's primarily this like glamour shot of her, not even from this movie. She doesn't look like this at any point in the movie.
There's also the one with the 3 heads in the sky. Have you seen that one in here?
Yeah, that one also looks like it could be. Once again, those both.
The one
look
that's
like
definitely not is the modern one where they've picked some weird ass font and it has the werewolf face.
Yes, yeah. No, okay, wait. I think you're right about the 3 heads one, because that definitely looks like something I would have seen in a video store at the time.
Yeah.
But the big thing here is, it doesn't matter. All the posters are. I just want to talk about the tagline is they don't call it the curse for nothing.
Yeah. That's pretty clever.
That's not bad. And
then the updated one is Hungry Like the Wolf.
Which is great because that's an 80s. Oh, wait, no, that doesn't make sense, actually.
Where did they get that? It sounds great.
Hungry Like the Wolf. You know, that's not bad. And then I have one other one that I don't know what release this comes from, but it's Ginger Snaps ... and bites.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, again, as we often say, if you guys need any kind of help with taglines, John and I are just sitting around most of the time. Just call us.
I can look. 10 minutes.
$200 per tagline. I'll give it to you right now.
Easy.
It'll be better than what you just got.
Easy. I mean, it's amazing. People get paid. I do think this is one of those movies that, because of its specific tone, I'm sure they were like, why don't we sell this thing? Because once again, it's a horror movie, but I'm not sure the horror like nerds are gonna necessarily love it. and the teen audience, maybe it's too horrific for them. So I don't know. Obviously,
it is so interestingly done that it could fool you for a good chunk, and then when it does get violent, you're like, "Oh, right."
But I think it did.
Right.
It makes so much sense to me that this did, of course, become like a cult hit, because this is totally a movie that a small section of people would see, and those people would fucking love it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it has
absolutely.
that.
And the second it came out on video,
Yeah.
dudes, this is what we have to watch tonight. And
Well, that's very much the case with something like Heathers too, where it's like it is so specific, and it really hit with a certain crowd.
I don't know what its numbers were like, but I think it did pretty well in the theater. I think that it got enough critical acclaim that people who wouldn't have gone to see it did. I know it wasn't a huge smash, but I think it probably was probably a bigger hit.
But it's got a cult
it, of course,
fan
took off
base.
once
Yeah, I'm just saying, like there are just these movies like that where people just, and we'll talk about Dog Soldiers, which does have that too, where it's like, dude, Dog Soldiers. So
definitely builds.
Yeah. Boy, this movie does start out though with some horror right away with this. The first scene of this movie does what I love a good horror movie to do, where it sort of sets the tone for the whole thing. Like, you're either in or out on this. You've got idyllic suburban Canada, and a mother is pruning the bushes, little kid playing in the sandbox, and then what's this? It's a severed dog paw.
It's a severed dog paw, which, come on. She freaks out so hard, and I'm like, when haven't you found a severed limb?
Well, she doesn't freak out as much about that as she does when she finds the disemboweled dog.
Yes, and then she picks up the kid, runs out to the street, and just shouts to her neighbors, they killed whatever the name of the dog was. They got him.
Well, because we will find out that this apparently has been a rash thing. There's something killing the pets. And I would say, maybe don't fucking leave your dog outside then.
What's the name of this town? It's like,
I don't.
Something Valley or whatever. But
it's very, it's very generic.
It has a B in it, so it has an alliterative. They call it like the Beast of Bayside Valley or whatever.
Yeah,
this
it
place
is something
called.
along that way. Yeah.
So we do. That's not laid at us at the top, but we do eventually find out. Oh, there is some known creature running around that's killing pets and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And I grew up in a suburban town that had Coyote Watch and stuff like that. So kind of that was the thing. But once again, it was recommended you bring your pets in at night.
Very nice.
So yeah, we then cut to because I do like, she's screaming and no one's reacting.
Yeah,
she's screaming.
Yeah,
kids, because it's when it's against Canada, so kids are playing hockey in the street, eh?
Yeah, and they're freaked for a second, and then she's like, they killed Bruno, whatever the name of the pet was, and the kids listen for a second, and they just go right back to playing hockey.
And
it is also effective at setting the tone of the movie, which is that kind of slightly heightened, cartoony, and then you have literally the two sisters.
Yeah, because the camera pans past the kids over to Emily Perkins as Bridget, who's like, almost rolls her eyes at this, like, ugh.
And she's mysteriously carrying like a saw and stuff, and you're like, did she kill this pet? And then you find out no. You very quickly realize that she and her sister Ginger are obsessed with death. And they take a series of photographs about deaths and suicide.
That's our opening title sequence, is all their photos, which is
really nicely done.
Really nicely done, and also very much reminds me of Harold and Maude.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
they're so obsessed with death, and they've also made a pact that they will commit suicide together, or just make sure that they both are dead by 16 or whatever.
Yeah, they are. I mean, talk about Winona Ryder. They are very Lydia Dietz, right? Like, my life is a dark room.
Obsessed with, like, the world sucks, life sucks. Even our own parents, we only have each other. We only get each other. We don't even like boys or anything. We just want to die in a fascinating way.
Lest we, don't. The whole idea of having any sort of hormonal feelings or anything is, oh God. they make a deal about they're 16 and neither one of them has a period, or one Ginger's
One
16
is-
and
yeah.
Bridget's 15.
Right.
But she skipped a grade, so they're in the same grade.
Right. And it is the mother points out, like, well, ladies get their periods at different times, and you guys are somewhat late.
And you've got the, oh my god. Well, number one, I mean, the sort of only name at the time in this would have been Mimi Rogers, which was pretty, that I feel like every 90s 2000s movie had like one person of note in it.
Right.
And so,
yeah,
and she's great in this because I love her whole like suburban mom where it's like, well, girls, and there's a phase.
She is the same as like the typical mothers that you run into in Heathers and Mean Girls and things like that, where since they're being somewhat satirical, she means well, but she's also very disconnected and just like, oh, and the
father
daughters don't want to hear anything about this.
Yeah.
About it, and they're like, oh, stop it. And she's like,
and then dad is a total non-presence.
Yeah, like, he's a total non-presence. And then even that gets served very nicely at the end. There's a very weird and disturbing turn for the mother, which is great. But here she's in the typical, she's made up, talk about costume. She's made up to look, again, cartoonishly suburban mom.
Yeah.
She has these dumb little dangles and bejeweled sweaters, and you're like, God, she's a caricature. Meanwhile, her daughters are so gothed out with like, they wear bird skulls, like raven skulls around their necks on the necklace.
Well, and the thing that always works about this, of course, and so many movies have done this, whether it be Heathers or Mean Girls or things like that, is like they are cartoonish, but my memories of high school were kids were kind of cartoon. Like it was, these goth kids were like this, where it's like, even at 16, sometimes I'd be like, good Lord, this is so performative.
Yes.
And it's great. And so like this thing is like, it is both satirical, but also you're like, oh, I recognize the kernel of the real here. And like I said, so many props to everybody involved in this for walking this very specific tone. So yes, we pull out of the credits and realize that they are showing these photos to a class. And this guy who plays the teacher is so funny because at first he's like, very interesting, yes, and then he just starts going like, but no, I'm sorry, this is too disturbing, my God.
He's trying to be cool for half a second. He's like going, well, that was creative, very disturbing, and then he's like, actually very disturbing, and then he just keeps building, and he's like going, I can't condone this. He goes, the two of you, counselor's office, separately after this. But the whole, they had an assignment, life in Bay Ridge or whatever the name of the town is. And so their answer to that was a series of photographs of each one in horrible death positions, which is very funny.
It's very funny.
And grim, and very much tells us who they are. And then they get talked to.
And I will say, a personal anecdote from my own life, I had one of these experiences where in my film class, I was told what I had made was so shocking, so horrible. They didn't send me to the counselor's office, but I was ready for that because I was so... friend of the show.
I told you about that drawing I did.
That right.
Was just a doodle, and I got sent to the counselor's office because they were worried about my mental health.
They didn't. Thank God they didn't send us to the counselor's office. But friend of the show and my Action Shelf co-host and I, Michael Lissman, made a gore fest action movie. It's one of those, and literally the instructor's like, that was so far over the line. I can't even. And it was such a like. If I showed it to you, it's so funny because it's such a like Tarantino knockoff. Like there wasn't anything really disturbing about it. It's two kids. It's such standard like movie nerd teenager film. But he was just like, good Lord, and the drugs and the language and all the gore. And we were just like, whatever, old man.
Well, of course. But it is their job to worry.
Sure.
You never know.
I do remember coming home to my parents going, they're probably going to call about this. So yes, they never did. Luckily, they still recognized enough to chide us, but not like, you two are sick. But here, of course,
because I was worried.
Yeah. But here, of course, you've got, they get sent to the counselor's office. But then we go out to, we don't actually see them go to the counselor's office yet.
Right.
Instead, we go out to gym class and field hockey, which is such a ubiquitous movie and television teen thing that it may just be regional or something. Nobody ever played field hockey at my school.
It always depends about region and the kind of school.
Mm-hmm.
I think most Catholic schools had field hockey.
This isn't a Catholic school, though, is it?
I don't believe so. But also Canada.
That's what I'm wondering. Is it's the
they
Canada.
were playing street hockey and
hockey of all kinds
hockey
up here.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got the pervy group of teens going like, "Yeah, that's right, ladies."
Yeah, they are cartoony, because if this happened in any school I was at, they would go, "You guys are supposed to be in class. Why are you just staring at girls playing field hockey?"
And literally like tell them like, "Make them bounce, ladies." Yeah, it is very. Once again, you got to get.
It's like, "Oh yeah, that's right. Jog, run. That's right." Ha ha.
Yeah, it is. It is one of those things where, and not a teacher in sight.
Nope.
Not
yet.
Well,
there is a field hockey coach, but she's not paying attention to the guys.
No, not till later will she get involved, once violence is involved in field hockey. But so yeah, they're doing that, and of course, very funny that Ginger and Bridget are anywhere near this, because they are just standing there holding their field hockey sticks, basically. While all the other girls run around.
And watching the other girls. And I mean, the thing is that they're not letting anybody off the hook. Obviously, the popular pretty girls are judging them, but they're literally just sitting there going, "What about her? How is she going to die?"
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, she'll do this. She'll OD, and then we'll find out that she was a prostitute and whatever." And they're like, "Yeah." So they're doing the same thing. They're being highly judgmental.
They are. And the guys are talking about how weird these sisters are, but even here there is the implication that Ginger is still kind of hot.
The thing is, like, we don't want to really go full out and say we got the hots for her at this point, but they're like going, I would get with, what are they, Fitzgeralds or something?
Yeah.
It's like, I would get with Ginger.
Some family that shares the name of an Ed Burns movie.
Yeah, and they're like, not that freaky younger sister. She's like a total roach or whatever.
Yeah,
wouldn't
Fitzgerald,
do that.
yeah.
But Ginger's pretty hot.
Bailey Downs, by the way, is the name of the town. I finally opened up the Wikipedia.
Bailey Downs.
Bailey
there it
Downs
is,
and Bridget and Ginger Fitzgerald. Yeah. But yeah, it's like because this is where Ginger keeps arching her back because she hurt her back doing a fake impaling on a fence.
That's what she says, but it's also meant to be the first indicator that she is about to have her first period.
Yes, exactly.
So right now she thinks it's because she must have done something weird to her back.
I do like the line of when Mimi Raj is like, "What's wrong with your back? How'd you hurt your back?" She goes, "Dying."
Yeah, that's right. Dying. But the mom at dinner is like going, where is the pain? Is it here? And then she's like, "Oh, you're about to become a woman."
And it's
probably cramps.
It is that I don't, look, not being a female, I don't know, but it is always this thing I see in enough things that it must be universal enough experience that writers talk about the mom who makes the period weird by making it like magical. In an attempt to be nice, actually makes it super weird and like you're blossoming into a woman. I love later when she makes a period cake.
Well, it just happens to be. She goes, "I made Ginger's favorite." Unfortunately, Ginger's favorite looks like a strawberry cheesecake or something. So it has all this red stuff all over it. This is after she does get her first period.
Yeah.
So literally, Ginger's looking at it, going, "Oh my god," because it does look like, "Here's your period cake."
Yeah. Well, she does say it's like I made Ginger's because she's a woman now. Like
she's a woman now,
and you're like, "Oh God, that's just so disturbing." And I think there is a line from the father going, "Honey, we're eating here. My God."
Yep.
Of course, the classic man line of like, "Oh, I'm trying to eat. Jesus Christ.
Could you not talk about menstruation at the dinner table?"
Then what's great is that's juxtaposed when they go to the nurse's office and she gives the very clinical, very specific answer of what's happening in the body.
Right, because Ginger does have her first period at school, and B, which is what they call Bridget, or Ginger does, is there in the bathroom. They're always together. So it's like, "Oh my God, you got it. You got the curse." And she's like, "Oh shit." And she's like, great, now I have to like boys. And all. She basically says, like, great, my life is over. I'm now biologically going to turn into a girly girl.
And she talks about, she goes, if I'm ever complaining about PMSing, just kill me, you know?
Yes, it's great. If it ever gets to that point, just kill me.
They're both so good in this because... well, this is that happens because it actually doesn't happen at school. She has her first period. They find a dead dog on a playground. And initially, they're like, "Oh my God, some of his blood got on you," but it's of course blood leaking down her leg.
Right. And again, another dead dog. That's obviously, you know, it is just because, hey, there's a beast out there killing animals, and again, the locals kind of take it seriously, but they're just kind of like, yeah, another one got taken, whatever.
It's sad, but it's just, you know, there's nothing we can do about that or whatever. Like, there's sort of a like loose beyond the lookout for, be careful. Even when they go out at night here, Mimi Rogers has a line about like, be careful, there's a thing out there. But but nobody's like, oh my God, you know, because immediately after this happens, Ginger gets just grabbed and pulled into the woods.
Yeah, they are walking around after school, I think.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of wandering out.
And Bridget has her camera because that's going to be key too. She's going to get a photo of the werewolf.
So while they're walking around, they're like kind of near a playgroundish thing. They hear growls. And then, yes, it happens very fast.
Yeah.
Ginger is grabbed. And this movie, until the end, is doing the smart thing of like hint at what the creature looks like. Don't really focus on it too long because it's not a great makeup. It's
pretty good. Say, I mean, I think it's pretty good. I mean, it's not.
It's ambitious. It's ambitious as far as the physicality because it's an all fours werewolf.
And that was a big thing. There was a lot of push on the director, according to the trivia, to make it a CGI creature, and he really pushed to make it practical. And a good call, because we know the CGI stuff really ages poorly from this time.
Especially at that period, yeah.
Especially absolutely. At that period, and the budget they had, that would have looked like garbage.
Yeah. So I will say that I when we get long or prolonged looks at the face later, it's like, yeah, that's not great.
But it's
still working.
And it's better than a lot of the shit we saw in the 80s, really.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, it is sort of like, for what this movie is, pretty good. And they went at it. But, like you're saying, they do the smart thing of, and it's a big thing we say over on the action shelf, which is, don't pretend you have more, don't try to be more ambitious than your budget. That's trouble. If you only have $5 million, then hint at the creature, which is a good, actually, just mentality anyway towards building thrills.
Yeah. So Ginger gets taken, and it sounds horrible, like she's being torn apart.
Oh my God!
And Bridget is doing her best.
She's punching this thing and bashing at it,
and her camera does go off, which the creature's like, no, I don't, no.
I said no photos.
No photos. And then. I can't remember how it gets directed out into the street.
It eventually releases Ginger, right? Like she's punching it,
or at least Ginger does get away from it. She has been hurt,
and then whatever that sort of like break between the two, I think, kind of sends Ginger one way and the wolf towards the road.
Right, and the werewolf runs out into the road and gets smacked.
Just pops like a balloon, man.
Is run over, and this is also the first, just like the character will later say, Sam, the druggie who is driving, the drug dealer who's driving the van, the drug dealer hero who gets it real bad in the end. But anyway, I did like that twist too. It's like, oh, you're gonna expect him to kind of make it, and he gets it bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, so but the whole thing is that he says later, he's like, oh, I don't think those movie rules apply at all. He goes, yeah, nothing silver about my van, but you notice I ran the fuck over that thing, and that took care of him.
Well, they're really going on the werewolf as virus in this movie of some kind.
Yes, right? Because it's a transformation that is not timed to moon or anything. It is gradual that you will turn into a werewolf.
Yeah.
That will be your final form. You won't be changing back and forth.
Right.
So Ginger is beginning though she doesn't know it because she's been bitten.
Yeah.
Her wounds heal very quickly, as Bridget sees.
They bring her back to the house, and she's got this claw mark on her shoulder, and it's like, it's already healing. They're like, we need to get you to a hospital, but Ginger's like, well, it's not bleeding, so
She's basically saying, like, I don't want Mom to find out, so don't tell her. And besides, I feel better, and the wounds are healing, so let's not worry Mom.
And then, of course, she's like, let's just go to bed and forget this whole thing ever happened. And, of course, yes, Bridget does look at the photo that she took, and it is of a wolf's face. And then, once again, this movie is on the nose, but not in a dumb way. But when they're in its biology class the next day, and they're watching a video about parasites and how they take over DNA, which that's good. I'll take that over the another clip of the Wolfman. You do get a cheesy old horror movie clip in this, but I like that it's something they filmed.
Yeah.
As opposed to, once again, I think we talked about just a moratorium on using Universal movies or something in these.
But I appreciate it, because that movie that they've given us looks like it could be a Howling, but then you realize they're playing it pretty broad for the sake of this. Like, oh no, the moon has turned, and so it's goofy. But
I did think it was weird that they still cued Howling.
Yeah, they did. They did.
No, I do like that. And once again, that sort of establishes the, like, wait, could this be a werewolf? And it's like, it's werewolf-esque, but it's not the traditional monster werewolf.
Well, that's the big twist of it, is it's not. The rules for this one are different.
And I like that. And they're consistent within themselves. That's the big thing we always talk about on this show. You can mess around with the mythology of these monsters, but you've got to make it make sense, and you have to play by your own rules.
And I do love when they're coming up with a cure that it's just a teenage girl and a dropout guzzy dude just kind of trying stuff.
And,
I was like,
talking about how they're trying stuff. He's going like, I don't know, this could fucking kill her, man. I don't know what to. We're putting just a bunch of random stuff in here.
It's like Wolfsbane will mess you up, and that's supposedly help. But monkshood is like Wolfsbane, but in smaller doses. It's okay for humans, and so it's like, okay, they're figuring stuff out.
They're smart, but they're not overly too smart. I hate like when teenagers are crazy smart in movies.
Yeah.
Or they're too dumb. This movie walks a real nice line there. And because it is a little heightened, you're willing to go with like some of the convenience of the fact that they hear about this stuff. And and he does have the drug making material.
I love that when Sam sees the photo and Bridget talks to him about that for the first time, and he goes, "What do you think that is?" And she goes, "I don't know. What about you?" And he goes, "Looks like a lycanthrope to me." He literally says it like before werewolf is even mentioned. He says lycanthrope. I was like, well, I do like that.
He kind of just gets on board with like, well, I think I've added it up, and I don't know what to tell you, man. It's werewolf of some kind.
Yeah.
Which I like, because once again, always tired of the, no way, man, werewolves aren't real, and you got to spend 20 minutes. This movie doesn't really.
What's funny is this movie does do that, but it's actually the person turning that keeps going like, stop talking about that. That's bullshit. And then it's a sister going, then explain the tail that you're growing. Okay?
Because that's a first indication we've got some real trouble. Is
no, the first indication is the hairy.
Yes, the hair in the wound, and of course, it wouldn't be a werewolf movie if a dog didn't freak out around Ginger,
right?
And start barking
anytime
at her.
Ginger approaches an animal, it freaks out.
But here's where all the sort of allegory stuff also really works. Is now she's also like, yeah, I will smoke weed with the stoners, and I love the scene of her smoking weed in the car, and then you pan out, and Bridget is just standing outside the car, being like, ugh.
Yeah,
that's great,
because it's all filtered in. She knows this idea of the virus, and of course, this is again a metaphor. My sister, who was my, soulmate, has now gone through the change, and now she's doing all the things that we used to make fun of. Now she's all into guys.
Right.
In fact, it heightens her libido. It makes her more reckless and dangerous. It also gives her like enhanced confidence because, of course, now that she's turning into a werewolf, she starts going to school with like, she takes off all the layers and is showing off, and the guys are like, holy fuck, when did Ginger get that hot?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You gotta have a scene of that, and that's just a testament to how good this movie is, that even stuff that plays as, like, we've seen that scene in a million movies, like slow motion walking to the school and she's hot now. Yeah. But I'm watching it going like, yeah, but like it's serving an actual purpose. It's not here to be lazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually, and it is all through, as we talked about, this really is Bridget's story. So it really is Bridget reacting to that. And I will say the one thing this and Dracula 2000 share in common is some of the same bands do appear on this soundtrack.
I was really scared for half a second when you said something this and Dracula 2000 having. I was like, nothing. They have nothing in common.
No, there's a couple. I'm looking at the soundtrack album for this, and you do have some Saliva, some Machine Head, some Fear Factory, who we actually saw in. Wasn't that who we saw in? I believe that was the band that is in the music video in Dracula 2000.
Well, I will proudly say I had no idea what band that was.
I think it's Fear Factory.
Okay.
Whatever, man.
The one that Dracula himself looks at and goes, I like ye.
Yeah. The Dracula,
that was the quote, right?
Dracula likes, yes.
Yeah, that was it.
No medal.
All right, so Ginger's changing. Bridget doesn't like it, and she is starting to become kind of a friend-ish with a goal in common with a guy that she never would have talked to before, and that is, of course, Sam the drug dealer.
Sam the drug dealer, who, like I said, I really like this guy, Chris Lemche. I thought he was really good.
He was, and his whole thing is he is kind of scuzzy, but he's also fairly charming and thoughtful in his own way. But we do find out from one of the hot girls, who apparently buys drugs from him, that she pays him in sex. And she's actually very hung up on him. And he's just like, whatever, it's transactional. So whenever he shows up at the school, the blonde hot chick is like, oh, Sam, I'm right over here. And he's like, oh, God, her. Oh. So it's funny that he finds himself drawn to Bridget, the nerd. And that pisses off the blonde chick too. Like, oh, I guess you just like the young ones, right?
Yes, that is absolutely the dialogue from this movie. I did think it was weird when they went, no. I was really enjoying the movie.
I worked on my impression all night last night. Whatever.
And she does talk about, she's like, well, he'll just drop you when he's done with you too. Not realizing, I mean, who knows, but like also just like maybe you just have a terrible personality, lady.
And this is the lead bad girl because she
Trina.
I of course they build up the bond between the sisters, which is why you care about it. So mean blonde lady is girl is mean to Bridget, which makes Ginger on the attack, like, don't you mess with my sister. And that leads to some trouble. Also, they're like, how do we get back at her? She has a dog. What if we make her think that her dog will abduct her dog and make her think it was another victim of the beast of blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Which, great.
It goes wrong because basically Ginger can't help herself.
Well, they do a nice little fake out where you see Ginger and this guy who she's sort of casually dating or some such,
because she's now got crazy libido and she's going to town on that guy in his car.
I believe that's the character of Jason.
And you hear something that sounds like biting or whatever. You're like, oh my God.
And he's going like, whoa, you're getting really strong. I don't know. Like, she's pushing him down and going like, well, I don't know if I like this. And then, yes, Bridget finds her covered in blood and vomiting in the bathroom. And you're like, oh no, she ate that
God,
kid.
She killed that guy.
But no,
and then it turns out, no, she just killed the dog.
Yeah, which actually, you know what? Worse. I'm sorry. I don't care for the violence against animals. If you want to eat some douchebag teenager,
she killed the dog and ate it. But she feels really bad about it.
But she's
it's
like,
the first pill she's made.
And she's talking about like, I was overcome. The feeling was unstoppable. Like this urge to do this, and so, this is the the first of like, all right, I'll help you clean that up.
Yeah. Bridget becomes a combo of, I'm going to protect Ginger no matter what, but she's also becoming the Van Helsing expert, and I'm going to cure her somehow. But so she's doing both. It's like, all right, I'll help you cover up this death.
The thing I like about the scene where they're covering that up is she goes, oh no, my reputation's going to be ruined when they find out I went all the way with that guy. Nothing to do with her concern is not I ate this dog. As they're like burying this dog, she's going like, people are going to think I'm a slut.
Yeah.
Which is very, very funny.
And then when we see the guy the next day at school, he is all cut up, and he's definitely gone through it. And they're like, holy shit, that guy, she must have really taken you down. And he's like, yeah, it was pretty wild. And then they notice a blood spot on his jeans, and he's like, oh shit. What we find out is that during their rough sex, not only did he not wear a condom, but also she did bite and scratch. And so basically he's been infected too, which Bridget finds out.
You get once again the allegory thing of Bridget being like, what do you mean you didn't use now you gave it to him.
Yeah, now you gave it to him like an STD. And when he starts to change, they are really hitting this puberty metaphor for like werewolfism, because when he starts to change, he gets very zitty.
Yes, he does.
And he also is going to get a tail, and he's also
and at one point he's pissing blood too, which is
his teeth are getting fangish just like hers are.
I do like that about when you talk about the full werewolf. I do like the increasing, the stages of the werewolfism. You start to get the thing, and the teeth start to come in, and then a little more fur, and then the forehead starts to change. Like I like.
Yeah, she's also strapping down the tail, and Bridget's helping her strap down the tail. Because she is growing a tail.
There's it's all still in this teenage mentality of, okay, it may be a monster, but also we just don't want to seem weird or different or have people find out.
Yeah.
That's still the concern, is like, I don't want to be a freak. Yeah, monster. They also do the thing because the first thought is, if this is a werewolf, maybe Silver will stop this. So they give her a navel piercing with a silver ring that Sam had given Bridget.
The thinking that Sam has, he goes, look, I don't think silver kills him, but ancient cultures believed that silver was any pure metal purifies the blood. So you could try some silver. So Bridget goes, all right, so what I will do is I will give her a silver belly ring.
Which is also very teenage girl.
Yeah,
late 90s, early 2000s, which I like. Once again, though, they're putting that onto the monster side of it. It's all just very clever. It
is.
That's the thing about it, and I keep pointing that out. And once again, not that the movie is like, but we're so not used to clever things on this show that I'm just going like, oh man, somebody went, if this then that.
Yep, exactly. If this then that. That's all I ever ask for.
Yeah, so they do that, but then when Trina, the bitchy mean girl, is mean to Bridget in, I don't know if this is gym class or it must be gym class, because they wouldn't be on the field hockey team, right?
No, they wouldn't.
It's got to be gym class, but she's mean to Bridget, and Ginger comes over and just fucks her up.
Yeah.
And
it, like before, her way of protecting her sister was to be bitchy or snarky, and now again it's this enhanced aggression that she's got. So she just beats the shit out of her. It's good.
And now the teacher is finally forced to get involved.
Yeah, she's like, hey, you're in trouble.
Come on now, knock it off, you crazy kids. Which is what I imagine you must say all the time if you're a teacher, right? Come on, you crazy kids, come on.
Yeah, of course.
And so that so yes, that happens, and now let's see, they go to Sam again, and this is where he's done more research about wolfsbane, and what is the substance they have that isn't wolfsbane? It's
monkshood, which is a derivative or a relative of,
and they're going like, maybe we could do something with that. That might possibly
Yeah, but
be.
the problem is it only grows in spring, and that's months away. But I ordered some, and I because he's a drug dealer, he has an entire cannabis greenhouse kind of thing. So he's like, I will grow that for us, but that's so far away.
It's so far away, but wouldn't you know, this is the one bit of like, okay, that's very convenient, is Mimi Rogers has some for her crafts.
Yeah. And at the craft store sells, monkshood out of season because it's dried monkshood. That's actually a possibility, but you're right about it being very convenient.
It's just in the movie. It is a possibility, but just the idea that it's like, we need that. Oh no, where can we get some? It's going to take forever to get here. Hi mom, what do you? Oh wait, that's that thing we need. It's the only thing I thought in the movie where I'm like, wow, that just was the 1-to-1 of that was very convenient. But I'm not here to bag on the movie.
You're not here to bag on the movie.
Well, because the other thing is always in the interest of keeping the pacing is like, okay, we need that, so I'll give it that because I need the movie to go forward and not take a bunch of time.
Right.
Because this movie does clock in at like 105 minutes, and that's fine.
Yeah,
it's about 10 minutes longer than Dracula 2000, and I thought it moved much better.
Of course, because it's
you're actually
well done,
and you're invested. You actually care to see what's going to happen to characters.
That is
correct. Believe it or not, caring about characters is important. Who knew?
Apparently so.
Who knew? All right. So
the ending made me sad.
It did. You've got Ginger trying to shave the fur off her legs in the bathtub.
Yes.
Which is great. It's great. And Mimi Rogers come in, her going, "Mom, get out of here!"
Yeah. And her excuse, because she doesn't want to be seen, obviously shaving crazy amounts of hair off, is she goes, I'm just so fat. I don't want anyone to see me. And she's like, oh, honey, you're not fat. It's just these fashion magazines you look at.
I do like all
those. It's all this sort of relatable stuff.
All those fashion models are on speed, honey.
They're all on speed.
Mimi Rogers is so good, and Mimi Rogers is always great, but she really, once again, just grabs.
She's
the
pegging
tone
it.
Of it.
She's pegging that tone.
Exactly what the tone of this is.
Yeah.
So so you get that scene, which is good. And then it's this night though that the Trina's gonna come over and go, hey, what happened to my dog? And you guys are, I don't know, something's wrong with you, Bridget. And Ginger once again just puts her in a fucking like chokehold.
Yes. So this is like a showdown in their home.
Yeah.
The parents aren't there, which is convenient, but
basically because they have counseling. I love that one-off line too.
Yeah.
That they have counseling. We never hear anything about it, but it's like, oh, that gives you there's something in their marriage that's requiring counseling.
And that will also kind of back up the reaction that the mom will have later in the movie about, what about dad? But anyway,
right.
So in this case, they have the confrontation with Blonde Meanie, and Blonde Meanie's like, I'm convinced you guys took the dog, and your little sister, she's fucking Sam, and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And yeah, Ginger's not having it. It's like, fuck you, bitch, strangles her, and then lets her go. But the thing is,
she's getting real when she's holding her. She's going like, yeah, that's right, I am gonna kill her. And Bridget's like, you got it. But like, she suddenly seems very sinister and like,
right.
Oh, what?
She's
Wouldn't it be terrible?
Monstrous.
Yeah. Whoa.
But they have knocked some milk off the counter, so the floor has milk on it, and then Blondie slips on the milk, and her head hits the edge of the counter, and she falls down dead.
Yep.
And it is an accidental death. And to her credit, because her humanity is still there at this point, even Ginger's like, oh God, oh no.
Yeah.
Well, and Bridget's like, oh, what are we gonna do? So they go out and they bury the Blondie in, well, no, not first.
Well,
first
they get rid of the body, but then they go to take it outside and they put it in the freezer.
They put it in the freezer because the parents are coming back. And then what they do, because the Blondie's blood mixed with the milk on the floor and there's no time to clean it up.
It's very
pretty clever. They walk in and the parents are like, oh my God, because they see a body on the kitchen floor with blood and milk. And then it's Bridget standing over with the camera going, hey, Mom, hi, Dad. And Ginger sits up and goes, we're just shooting one of our weird death pictures.
And I love Mimi Rogers being like, we told you not to do this in the house.
Yeah, we told you not to take those death pictures in the house. And Ginger goes, and the dad doesn't quite buy it. And Ginger goes, no, it's just Karo syrup. It's corn syrup. He's like, and she licks it. She goes, want to taste, Dad? And he's like, no.
You girls are
then the mom takes meat out to the freezer. So Bridget runs out there and we find out that's where they put Blondie's body is inside the freezer. What I didn't buy in this movie, this is the logic hole for me. You put a body that just died in the freezer.
Yeah.
They came back, what, 2-3 hours later after the parents have gone to sleep?
It's frozen solid.
It is frozen solid. Yeah. And what's more, it is like fused to all the permafrost on the inside. And I'm like, come on, people. I did not have enough time.
I did have the same thought, but once again, they need to do that so they can chip away.
If I bring a room temperature 2-liter of Mountain Dew home and I want it cold in a hurry, I put it in the freezer. 2 or 3 hours later, it still hasn't frozen, but it's now nice and cold.
Yes.
So yeah, a 2-liter and a human body. Let's just think of that. Anyway, for the plot,
because
Blondie is frozen in there.
They need to chip her out, and 2 of her fingers come off.
Yes. And they lose track of those 2 fingers, but they do bury the rest of the body in the shed.
Yes. Underneath Dad's shed.
Yep.
You put her in the ground, and it I mean, there's you talked about the American Werewolf in London aspect of this whole thing where it's like, we can't let this happen again, okay? We got to do something about it. This is like Bridget just being like, this is a one-time thing, kind of, right?
Yeah, and also it is still the out of, technically that had nothing to do with the werewolf thing. That was an accident. Mm-hmm. Later in the movie, that's why it has an impact when she steps over the line and has killed a human for the first time. And you're like, dude, there's no coming back from that. And even Bridget's like, I've got to cure you, but do you understand what you've done?
Oh, I do want to touch on one other great Mimi Rogers moment. That is the distraction before they bury the mom. Is they don't want to look in the freezer, and Bridget goes, "Mom, will you give us advice about guys?" And then it just cut. What did she say?
It's totally, Bridget is afraid that Mom's going to look into the freezer to see the body. So she goes, "Mom," and she's like, "Yes. What do guys really want?"
That's what it is. And then she's like, "I'm so glad you asked." And then it does this time lapse cut to us like, and that's what every guy wants. Every one of them.
They're all the same. Yeah. And it's like they'll pretend they're different, but they're not. And literally, Bridget looks like, kill me now. It's great. It's very
that is very funny. And once again, also makes you think that maybe there's something up in the relationship with the father a little bit, that she's that like, there's no like but guys like your father. No, it's like, no, all of them are bastards.
All of them are, and I'm putting this good a face on it as I can.
Yeah. That's a great little scene there. Then you get the next day, now full on zit-faced wolfing out guy grabs Bridget and goes, what the hell's happening to me? I ate my dog last night, man. Yeah. I ate my fucking dog.
He's like, you know what I did for fun last night? I ate my dog. What's that about? And I know it's got something to do with Ginger.
It's a real banner year at the Bender house. It has that. You know what my dad gave me? A dog for me to eat. No,
a dog pot pie.
He said, "Eat up, Johnny." All right. I will always bring it back to John Hughes. I would have loved him to have made Weird Science is as close as he gets to like genre.
Yeah. He should have.
That would have been really interesting. It probably would have been something like Buffy, I would guess.
I would guess it would, and I do think it probably because I don't know what his tolerance for violence or gore.
Yeah, I mean, I think had he certainly had the clout to have done that had he had any interest in that.
My fear is it would be closer to something like Full Moon High,
or My Best Friend is a Vampire.
Or Saturday the 14th.
Yes, yeah, it probably would be closer to that because he never went to any stretch of like darkness.
Even Weird Science only has something science fiction-y or paranormal in it just to get to horny teenagers.
Yeah,
and that's the whole purpose.
That's always how John Hughes sat down. He goes, now, how do I work my way to horny
How do I work my way from this detective thriller to horny teenagers? Weird science.
Write yourself out of this, John. How do you get there? So yeah, he's very upset. Mom wants answers. I have written here. Oh, is this where she found the fingers? No, I think she at this point is just asking, what is going on with you?
Yes.
Because this is where Bridget then finds Ginger trying to cut off her tail. And at this point, she's got the full-on werewolf fangs, and the eyes are changing, too.
Yeah. And it's kind of, I mean, it is sad because it's kind of like The Fly, where you see, and Catherine Isabel does a great job, where you're like, okay, I know I'm losing my humanity and I'm not soulless yet. So she's terrified. What is happening to me? And I don't want this to happen. She fluctuates for a long time because sometimes she's like, oh, this is great. I love this power. And then sometimes she's like, no, fix this. So Bridget is just heartbroken and torn. And she's still trying to work on this cure, which she does come up with, weirdly.
This is good, like heightening the tension of the movie, because this is where she locks her in the bathroom. It's like, all right, and she locks Ginger in the bathroom and then runs to Sam, going like, we need this cure right now. We need to do this right now. And this is where he's going, well, we don't know anything about how this should work or what the dosage of this might be. You might just fucking kill her.
Yeah, and she basically says like, we have to try. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like better that than her turning into a full-on werewolf. So she has a syringe full of a solution.
Because Sam does say the most effective way to get it it would be to inject it.
Right. Yeah. Because she's like, do you smoke it? He's like, no, it should probably go directly into the bloodstream. So she's got a syringe, and it's meant obviously for her sister, but on the way to give it to her sister, dude comes in, and that's the dude who is also changing, and he's all zittied and fanged out.
Yeah.
And he's going to first kill a kid.
Yep. Oh yeah, she just stumbles on him with this kid, and it's Halloween. They say it is Halloween.
Yes, right.
So there's
and
a
it's
kid
also
like in a
broad daylight. He is just going to slay this kid in the middle of an open
I gotta
field.
kill this kid. Oh.
And so Bridget's like, don't do that. And then he's like, fine, I'll turn my attention to you. And he comes at her, and she stabs him in the throat with the solution.
And then I love the way the guy plays this. Once it like cures him, and he's like, I gotta go home.
Yeah, it's like immediate meekness.
Yeah,
and part of him is aware of what he was about to do, or what.
He's like, just instant.
See you later, Bridget. I should probably head home.
I gotta run home right now. Yeah,
and she's like, "Yay, it worked!" But of course, that was the only dosage.
At
that moment.
So we need to make more of it.
Yep.
But in the meantime, let's see. They have to inject it. Yeah, okay. Where am I here?
Well, now it is.
Bridget gets out. Ginger gets out, and she goes to the school. Right?
Oh, that's right. While the solution was being made, Bridget did not lock her in, but she barred the bathroom door.
Right.
And basically said, "I'm sorry, Ginger. I'll be back. You're just not safe going outside or mixing with people." And Ginger's like, "Let me out of here."
And so by the time she gets back, she has broken out of the bathroom. You get this great scene. They do this whole thing when they're mixing up the cure. You're also cutting back to Catherine Isabel with her now wolf claws scratching at the door, which looks pretty cool.
Yep. She is now, by the time of Halloween night, which is when Sam and Bridget are going to try and give her dose, she's gotten even farther along. She's now, her hair has gone from red. She's Ginger, get it? Yeah. But now it's the silvery
and
werewolf hair.
She's Ginger, and one might say at this point in the movie, she has snapped.
Oh my God, she has. And she's got the werewolf brow. Her eyes have kind of changed.
Yeah.
But when she shows up at the Halloween party, which of course is, it's a bunch of teenagers and they're all in costumes.
Yeah.
everyone assumes, oh, cool makeup, you look awesome. So she's walking into the Halloween thing,
classic
like
monster
a
movie
sexy
moment.
werewolf lady,
Yeah.
and she's like, yeah, and everyone's like, she's a slut. I hear she did it with blah blah blah. And then she goes after Sam because this is Sam's greenhouse.
Oh, before that though, she kills the guidance counselor. I have.
Oh, that's right. She did. That was back at the school. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when she initially escaped, she goes to the school, and the guidance counselor's like, "We should talk because something's wrong with you." And so Bridget follows her to the school and then finds the guidance counselor ripped to pieces. Oh. And this is a pretty gnarly looking, werewolf victim. I like that.
And even again at this point, Ginger's like, I had to do it. He was going to, turn on me and whatever. And so she looks kind of like, I'm sorry, but I had to. Mm-hmm. And then like 5 minutes later is coming after her own sister in the empty high school. And then the sister uses the custodian, who we've seen for a bit, kind of breaks things up. And then the custodian gets it. Poor by werewolf
custodian, Ginger. Man. And once again, she's going, look, man, I had to kill him. He's a fucking perv, man. Didn't you see the way he looks at you? What a weirdo. And literally, oh, man, when she's holding his dead body out and going like, I'm a pervert. I want to touch your boobies. And you're like, oh, good Lord. I do like that when the monster movies, it's not just that you turn to monster. You also, first you have to turn straight evil, like calculating psycho evil. That's great.
Yeah.
And once again, all applause to Catherine Isabel for playing every rung on this journey. Somebody who...
She does a great job.
I mean, Catherine Isabel, as we've talked about, not only has had but it really has become like a horror icon. If you look at... She's a scream queen, you would say, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think, the strength of this, she ended up in things like, was it Freddy versus Jason? She ended up in a bunch of horror-y kind of things, and that's fine.
American
I'm
Mary
glad to see that her career didn't stay there, and she's done a lot of television.
She balances back and forth. I would say there's a lot of like television appearances, and then like a horror movie, and then a bunch of
right.
Like I said, I loved her on Hannibal. She's great on there. And that obviously comes from like Brian Fuller being a big horror nerd, and she was just on Ghosts.
Yes.
So she's great. And like I said, American Mary is sort of the other big horror movie she did.
Yeah, based on what the video games.
Is it the video game? Is it a video game thing? I don't know.
I think it was
maybe
the American Mary thing.
I don't know. I don't fully know where. I don't know much about those, but I know that has a whole cult fan base too.
It does.
So she is a god at conventions, right?
Yes.
And we will talk about her again in the Ginger Snap sequels. And apparently she's in, I never saw the straight-to-video 30 Days of Night sequel, but I guess she's in that.
Oh, okay.
Which weirdly, actually, now that I'm looking at it, has a lot of good actors in it, weirdly.
Yeah. No, it's not based on a video game. I'm sorry. I just looked it up on Wikipedia. Okay. There's something that's... Oh, maybe it's American Alice is what I'm thinking
of. I think that is, yeah.
Because that's a gory video game based on Alice in Wonderland. Yes, I got them confused. Okay.
All right. Well,
anyway.
Once again, never seen either one. So, okay. So, now she's going to the Halloween party where she's going after Sam.
Yes.
And
she starts having sex with Sam, and he's like, no.
Yeah.
And she goes, I know you want this. Plus, you know what I am, and you're curious about doing it with a werewolf lady.
What I do
and
like...
he's like, no,
I like that her, like, sexiness hits a peak before it starts to devolve into monstrous. It's like...
I mean, even at this point, she's got multiple nipples. She's got a dog abdomen, basically.
That's the thing where you're going, like, yeah, you were hot, and now it's getting creepy.
Yeah. And Sam, they're playing that pretty honestly because he's like, no. And she goes, you're just hung up on my sister. He's like, no, that's not it. This is just wrong. And then, but he's also a guy. So he's like, please get off me. It's all sort of weak. Please. Like, don't have sex with me, please.
But also, of course, he more than anyone does know she's a werewolf.
Yes.
So
and now Bridget is showing up, and she actually is outside the room and hears him saying, "Get off me."
While this is happening, Mimi Rogers has found the fingers and has picked up Bridget and is like, "Where's your sister?" And she's like, "I think she went after Sam at his greenhouse."
She also dug up the full body too.
Did she dig up the body too?
Yeah, because she.
So I guess we see it's cross-cutting between all of this stuff happening as we're talking about this.
So she knows it goes past the, past the whole thing with the fingers.
Yeah. Well, because initially, I love. Once again, they undercut the thing. Initially, she finds the fingers and goes, "Oh God, another prop from one of their death things." Ugh.
Right. And then she's like, "Wait a minute, those were awfully real."
Yeah.
And they're in. She put them in a
Tupperware.
In the little plasticky Ziploc thing.
It was in a Ziploc bag. This also reminds me of my teenage years when it would be like, "Please get the Tupperware full of fake blood out of our refrigerator."
Right. Exactly.
That was
So then they do the whole thing.
Mom.
Yeah. In this case, it's all about. Now she knows that they're up to something bad. Meanwhile, Bridget is rushing to that party, but she doesn't have a car. Then the mom drives up and is like, "Get in the car." And so now mom knows something terrible happened. Doesn't know anything about werewolves, but she's like, "We need to talk." And basically Bridget goes, "Yeah, but first you got to take me to this thing because that's where Ginger is, and I need to tell you all this stuff."
Right.
So, basically in the parking lot of the greenhouse where the party is, the mother who thinks that they've just murdered, that's all. They don't know. She doesn't know about werewolves or anything. She's like, "Okay, here's the plan. We're just going to flee. Okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do about that body. And I don't need to know the whole story, but I know that this is my fault. I let my daughters down. So this is what we're going to do. We'll just turn on all the gas vents in the house, all the gas jets, and light a match, burn the house and go. And that'll cover things up." And Bridget's looking at her like, "Are you crazy?" She goes, "What about Dad?" And she goes, "Well, your dad never really he wouldn't get it." It's basically like, we're going to leave Dad out of it.
Yeah.
And just leave him alone.
Yeah. He wouldn't. I do love the idea of just, your father wouldn't understand.
He wouldn't understand.
He just.
So she's doing this weird, like, us ladies will stick together and we'll go someplace, and I don't need to know anything else about you killing
It is
somebody.
like, but I'm telling you that, no, I don't need to. I can't testify.
It's great, and Bridget really has no answer to this. She's like, "Okay, yeah, well, first I got to go see the Ginger." It's kind of great.
It is. It's
like,
great.
Yeah, I got nothing. All right, whatever. Yeah.
So they go. She does find Ginger now, who's really starting to go full wolf here, because they end up knocking her out and putting her in the back of Sam's van.
Right.
To go get the cure.
Yep.
But as this is happening, we see her in the back of the van, like actually wolfing out, and they're doing the shoulders are popping and the back.
Yeah, this is where the final transformation's happening.
So that by the time they get to where the cure is, they open up and they stop the van, and she's gone. She's escaped from the back of the van.
Yeah, she got out, and they're like, "Oh God, she's loose."
Oh no. And yeah, this is where we get basically the end of the movie. Here is this chase through the house with the werewolf, and at a certain point
they figure that she's gone back to the house.
Yeah.
So they go there, and it is true.
They've got the cure.
Yep.
And it is Sam who heroically is like, "No, I have to face her."
Mm-hmm.
Because also at this point, Bridget has been scratched by.
Well, she does this thing where, she figures that a way to make sure that Ginger trusts her in werewolf form is that she goes, because literally she's a werewolf at this point, and it's like trying to reason with this beast, and it's like, we are the same, me and you.
Right.
And so she cuts her own palm and presses it up against the werewolf's bloody whatever.
Right.
And it's like doing a blood oath. She goes, "We've got a pact, remember? Me and you."
Yep.
So it's a way to also keep the werewolf focused on her, but that also means she's now infected. So I will say the movie changes its rules a little bit, because Bridget's already being affected like instantly. Whereas Ginger, it took place over days and weeks or whatever. Bridget's already like kind of like I can't feel my arm, and she's twitching, and it's like
that's why Sam. That's why Sam is like, I have to be the one to do it then.
And and plus they do a very, I mean, it's still a horror movie. The trope of I've got the cure. Oops, I've dropped it.
Yeah.
It's like, delay.
Of course.
So now it's like run away from the werewolf while trying to get back to the place where it dropped the hypodermic needle with the cure in it.
Yeah. And pretty immediately he is set upon and mauled by the werewolf.
Yeah.
And it is cool the way the blood comes seeping under the door.
Yeah, and it is again, I'm going to give out more props. Sound design on this.
Yeah.
It's a horrifying sounding thing. We don't see it. It's all just about that, and then it gets so quiet, and she's like, "Oh my god!"
And that's so
Bridget's
key.
hyperventilating. She's like, "Oh my god, Sam's dead." But then she starts hearing he's taking these horrible little like death breaths. Man.
And once again, all the like gore makeup is great in this, because when she finds him all ripped up, and
he's just sitting. I mean, because the life is literally leaking out of him. There's nothing he can do other than just kind of gasp.
Yeah.
And now it's down to Bridget and Ginger.
Yeah. And she has the syringe and a knife.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be key here. That she's gonna it turns into this confrontation.
Basically, it comes to the confrontation, and the werewolf at this point is like, "Fuck, man, I'm gonna take her out." So it's one of those leap onto the victim, but then the victim, of course, being Bridget, has knifed her sister.
Yeah. And then as the werewolf is dying, she hugs the werewolf that was her sister as it dies, and then the movie ends.
Yep.
Ooh, man. I mean, I did go, man, I like that there's no like denouement or something or anything to remotely make us feel. And this is sort of the thing.
Well, you could see where someone would go like, well, what happened next?
Yeah, I'm really worried they did that though, and I don't, at least on paper.
I believe that's what it will be. I mean, obviously Bridget's infected, but she does have that hypodermic. She could use it on herself, perhaps.
Yes.
But even if she does, she's a living girl in a house full.
Amazon, I will say, did immediately try to get me to watch Ginger Snaps 2, so I did see the couple sentences that describe the plot.
And is it Bridget dealing with her being a werewolf?
No, it is because she has the injection, but now I believe she's going to be like in a rehab because they think she's a drug addict.
Oh,
because they think it's a narcotic that she's taking to keep the werewolf inside.
Oh, she has to keep taking.
I think once again, I just saw the thing quickly, but I think the plot is going to be they're trying to cure her of her drug addiction, but the drugs are the thing that are keeping the werewolf at bay. So what I'm trying to figure out is how Catherine Isabel gets involved again. But
I do know that the third one is one of those cheesy ass. Speaking of Underworld. Prequels where it's ancestors of Bridget and Ginger.
Okay,
so
Jesus
I know
Christ.
that the third one goes back to medieval times.
Oh Christ, I didn't know that. See, that's garbage. That's garbage town.
Yep.
Oh, I do see that. Ginger snaps back the beginning. Oh God.
Yes.
Oh God.
What? You're not excited?
The thing about the Underworld one though is it's just they're already immortal characters, so they don't have to be the ancestors.
That's right. Yep. Ancestors who weirdly have run-ins with werewolves.
Yeah, that's a sort of thing where I'm like, what?
Like, why would this family just constantly be running?
I wonder if
Catherine
Isabel. I don't know the answer to this. This is just my theory. Is will she be like a Griffin Dunn sort of like ghost or mental projection figure?
Well, I do know that. The only thing I do know about the second one is that Tatiana Maslany's character plays a ghost or is called Ghost.
Well, she's called Ghost. Yeah, I see that in the credits here. I don't know what exactly. So
well, maybe that is just the character name. I have no idea. We'll find out. But that's not next week. What's next week?
That is not next week. Next week, because I like that the 2000s are giving us a 2000 twist on each of the classic monster sort of types. So next week, this ain't your daddy's Invisible Man. This here's a Hollow Man.
There's nothing in him.
He is hollow.
That was the tagline on the poster.
The Hollow
There's
Man.
nothing in him.
There's nothing in this guy. Yes, it is Kevin Bacon is the Hollow Man, which I remember seeing when it came out because it was a big special effects thing. Paul Verhoeven, who I'm a big fan of.
Yeah. What's amazing is the talent involved in this one that is in a terrible movie.
It's not. Yeah, I remember it being not good. That's my distinct memory. Really good. I'm looking at it immediately. We got not only Kevin Bacon, Elizabeth Shue, Josh Brolin, William Devane.
Yeah.
Directed by Paul Verhoeven.
Yeah. And it's not good.
No, but I remember I was really hyped for it because they really played up the special effects. I remember watching the Sci-Fi Channel behind the scenes going, this movie does stuff we didn't even think was possible, man.
Yeah.
And being the nerd I was like, oh my God, yes! Look at what Paul Verhoeven is pushing the boundaries again.
He can't help but push boundaries.
I do love Paul Verhoeven. I don't love all of his movies, but the man pushes buttons like nobody's business.
I walked up to him in a restaurant, and this was years ago.
Oh,
and
wow.
I said, Mr. Verhoeven, could you please stop pushing buttons?
And he said,
he looked
never.
me dead in the eye, and he said, security? And then I was wrestled out of the restaurant.
Security? Get him. I love Paul Verhoeven because any interview or commentary I recommend with Paul Verhoeven, I wonder if he did a Hollow Man commentary. I might actually listen to that because he's fucking nuts and I love him. Anytime he talks about RoboCop is American Jesus, it's just like, he's Jesus. You see, he's crucified and then he's resurrected, and then the movie ends when he walks on water.
Wow, I never made that connection.
He's an American Jesus. He's nuts, and I love him. But I don't love Hollow Man. But you know what? I'll go in. I haven't seen it since it came out.
Open that mind.
I love Kevin Bacon and Elizabeth Shue. But yes, in my memory, it's terrible, and I don't think there's a lot of people who will fight me on that. So, nice. I don't think there's a lot of, but don't worry, because there's a second Hollow Man movie we'll talk about at some point. So, yay! So it's Hollow Man next week on Meet the Monsters as we continue to roll through the crazy decade of the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
But that's going to do it for this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Brendan Jones.
And remember, there are such things as monsters.
Do you think anyone was upset that this movie had nothing to do with the delicious dessert treat